If NASA wants to hide something from us, trust me, it'd be pretty easy for them to keep a secret. 3 biological looking shapes, some patch of ground, same week. And NASA used the exact same excuse for all 3. NASA's hiding something here. What are they hiding? In September 2014, Curiosity's Matt's cam photographed a rock formation shaped unmistakably like a crab, complete with 2 symmetrical claws and a rounded shell body, sitting out in the open like it crawled out of a Martian tide pool. NASA's answer was wind erosion and pareidolia. Our brains just seeing patterns that just aren't there, except in the same image set. Curiosity also caught what looks like a fossilized bone, and near that a shape the interest nicknamed the Mars rat, for how closely it resembled a small rodent skeleton. 3 separate biological looking objects, 1 location, 1 week, 1 identical explanation. I mean, I can't blame these people for asking the questions, and honestly this isn't even the strangest thing NASA brushed off that way, because this next one is one that they actually joked about before everyone even asked. NASA joking about something should tell you something. They're hiding something, but what is it? On May 7, 2022, Curiosity's MESCAM scanned a section of Gale crater nicknamed East Cliffs and captured a rectangular doorway shaped opening cut cleanly into the rock face. Measured at about 30 centimeters tall, their official explanation was a natural fracturing along parallel stress lines combined with erosion. That's what everyone's looking at. Geologically, okay, sure, that's possible, but here's what gets absolutely bone-chilling. In the actual press release, NASA scaled the comparisons themselves, joking it was, not a doorway for such life forms. That's probably what it actually is. Why would you preemptively joke about the scale for a random rock crack unless you already knew how the internet was going to react and you wanted to cover it up before it was even out there? Well, that's one strange shape brushed off with a joke. Next up is 2 of them, side by side, on a planet that's supposed to be bone dry. 2 ocean animal shaped rocks, meters apart, on a planet NASA insists have been bone dry for 3 billion years. In September 2023, Perseverance cameras caught 1 rock formation shaped almost perfectly like a shark fin, slicing up out of the sand, and another just meters away shaped like a crab claw. In the same imaging session in Jezero crater, NASA's geologists blame differential erosion when softer rock wears away faster than harder rocks and leaves these shapes behind. That's a real process. Well, I'll give them that, but 2 aquatic animal-shaped formations sitting side by side on the driest planet in the solar system? What's the chances of that? And that brings us to our next point, where NASA's whole coincidence defense starts to fall apart. And it took place on August 30th, 2015. Curiosity photographed what looks exactly like a spoon lying in the Martian dirt. A thin handle leading to a rounded scooped head, casting a spoon-shaped shadow in the light. Both Space.com and NASA addressed it directly, chalking it up as a resistance mineral vein that eroded into that specific shape. Fine on its own, but stacked with a spoon next to the crab, the bone, the rat, and the doorway, and you've got rock formations on Mars repeatedly resembled human tools. This raises a lot of questions. And NASA's answer is always like, oh, this is another coincidence. It's like 15 coincidences in a row. At what point are we going to fight back and ask and demand for answers? This is a pattern. This is on purpose. Someone put it there. Someone is creating these objects on Mars. And if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you guys smash the like button. It really helps most amazing. Now this next one is where NASA's own story actually changed on camera. NASA held a global press conference to tell the world about this discovery. Then they quietly walked it back. They're like, oh, this isn't the reaction. I think they're not ready for this. They're not ready for the truth. In 2011, a University of Arizona undergrad spotted dark streaks running down crater slopes in orbiter photos, appearing in warm seasons and vanishing in cold ones. NASA calls them reoccurring slopes lineae. And in 2015, they announced in a major press conference that these streaks were liquid water actively flowing on Mars right now, in the front page news everywhere on Earth. Then, with a fraction of the press conference, Follow-up research suggests that the streaks might have just been flowing sand and dust, not water at all. So we almost thought that there was water on Mars. I personally believe the real story isn't the streaks, it's how loud NASA was when the answer was exciting, and how quiet they got when it just fell apart. If that one is NASA changing its story, this next one is NASA telling the truth right away, and still leaving a bigger question hanging. Perseverance photographed human debris on Mars within its first drive, and it opened a bigger question NASA doesn't want asked. On its very first drive sequence, the rover caught a piece of shredded, silvery material tangled in the rocks roughly 1,000 feet from its landing site. NASA confirmed this one instantly, no mystery. Except that raises a lot of questions, and these questions nobody followed up on. If we can already visually confirm human-made debris scattered across the Martian surface from a single landing, how much are we leaving behind mission after mission? On a planet we keep telling the public we're preserving. Now compare that instant honesty to this next photo. One NASA didn't explain until it had already gone semi-viral. A bright point of light appeared on the crater floor in one frame and vanished in the next. In 2014, Curiosity NavCam caught a small glowing point of light sitting on the ground in the distance. NASA's explanation, they said it was a cosmetic ray striking the camera sensor directly, creating an artifact in that single exposure. That's a documented phenomenon, but conspiracy researchers pointed out that classic cosmic rays hits usually create random pixel streaks, not a clean, contained point of light that looks exactly like it's coming from something on the ground. NASA never released a follow-up shot of what the exact spot to settle it either way. At least, well, that one got an explanation eventually. This next one never got one at all. NASA has responded to nearly every viral Mars image on this list, except for one. In that same 2014 image window near the crab in the bone, Curiosity photographed a rock formation that from a specific angle looks almost exactly like a humanoid figure sitting upright, with a head, arms, and a torso roughly in proportion. The internet nicknamed it Mars Bigfoot. NASA never issued a single statement on it. Not a denial, not an explanation, nothing at all. And honestly, that silence might be more telling than the explanation would have been. They would have just made up something anyways. Multiple images show what look like the foundations of small rectangular rooms on a planet where nothing is supposed to be building anything. Curiosity's image from Gale Crater reveal boxwork formations, thin, straight-edge mineral ridges intercepting at sharp right angles. Geologists say from mineral veins that crystallized and outlasted the erosions around them. Textbooks geology, sure. What's hard to explain away is how consistently geometric, how right-angled these formations are, sample after sample. And that brings us to the story that explains why NASA handles all 9 of these exactly the same careful way. This isn't even a rover photo, and it's the real reason I think NASA handles every anomaly since the way it does. In 1976, Viking 1 photographed a mesa in the Cydonia region that looked exactly like carved human face staring up at the sky. And NASA's own scientists joked about it publicly. It became one of the most famous images in space exploration history. Then in 1998 and 2001, the Mars Global Surveyor re-photographed that same mesa at 10 times the resolution. And it was just a mesa, shadow, an erosion tricking the original camera. NASA was completely right that time, but that experience taught them exactly how much attention one ambiguous photo generates. And every anomaly since has been managed with that lesson in mind. So the real question isn't whether these 10 things are aliens, it's whether we'd ever actually be told if one of them was.